My fiancé's bachelor party was in another city. The night before the wedding, I got a video, a woman dancing on his lap, kissing his neck. He stumbled, laughing, "Just one night, it doesn't count." Furious, I waited until the ceremony. As the priest asked, "Do you take this man to be your husband?" I smiled and said, "Actually, no. But I have a video for everyone to see." What happened next left him humiliated in front of 200 guests. I, 32 female, was supposed to get married last summer. We had been engaged for a year, together for almost 4. My fiancé, Derek, 34 male, was someone I truly believed was loyal, loving, and honest. We met through mutual friends in Austin, and for a while, I thought he was the kind of man who didn't play games. We lived together, we planned everything together. The wedding was set to be in Dripping Springs, Texas, beautiful venue, around 200 guests, catered barbecue, open bar, live music. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. It wasn't. A week before the wedding, Derek flew to Denver for his bachelor party. He told me they were renting an Airbnb and doing something low-key. Hiking, breweries, no crazy clubs, no strippers, he specifically said that. I believed him. His best man, Jason, is someone I don't trust. Never did. He's loud, arrogant, constantly joking about cheating like it's funny. But Derek swore he'd keep things clean. He told me he didn't even want a stripper. He said, "That stuff's not me." The bachelor party was Thursday through Sunday. Our wedding was the following Saturday. We barely talked that weekend. He sent me one photo of them at a brewery and said, "Miss you, can't wait to marry you." I replied with hearts. Nothing felt off. He was busy, I didn't want to be the clingy bride-to-be. Then came the night before the wedding. I was at the Airbnb with my bridesmaids. We had wine, face masks, and were planning to sleep early. Around 10:40 p.m., I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. No words. Just a video. I opened it. It was Derek. He was in some kind of strip club, slouched on a couch, clearly drunk. His shirt was open, tie hanging around his neck. A woman in a tiny red dress was straddling him. She was grinding, hands in his hair, kissing his neck. I could hear Jason yelling in the background, "Yeah buddy. Last night of freedom." Derek was laughing. Slurring. Then he looked at the camera, whoever was filming, and said, "It's just one night. Doesn't count." I watched it 3 times. I thought I was going to throw up. My hands were shaking. One of my bridesmaids took the phone and watched it too. The room went completely silent. We were all staring at each other. That was the man I was supposed to marry in less than 24 hours. He lied. Not just about some stripper showing up, but about who he really was. The way he laughed. The way he enjoyed it. It wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there. My brain wasn't fully processing it yet. But somewhere deep inside, I knew, I couldn't go through with the wedding. I needed a plan. I stayed up all night. At 3 a.m., I made a decision. I would still show up. I'd wear the dress. I'd walk the aisle. And then, I'd burn it all down. I called my maid of honor into the bathroom while the rest of the girls slept. I showed her the video again. She looked at me and said, "You sure?" I nodded. We backed the video up to my Google Drive. I asked her to bring a laptop with an HDMI cord to the venue. She didn't ask any more questions. She just said, "Done." The next morning, I didn't sleep. I got my makeup done. I smiled in pictures. I acted like everything was normal. Derek texted me, "Can't wait to see you at the altar." I didn't respond. He had no idea I knew. The ceremony was at 5 p.m., outdoor setup, golden sunlight, chairs lined up perfectly, music playing. I stood behind the barn doors with my dad, my heart beating so hard I thought it would explode. I walked out. I saw Derek at the altar, smiling like he was proud of himself. "Do you, Amanda, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband?" I paused. The wind was still. You could hear a pin drop. I looked out at the guests. Then I said, clearly and calmly, "Actually, I don't. But I do have a video for all of you to watch." Some people laughed. They thought it was a joke. A flash mob, maybe. Something quirky. I turned toward the event coordinator. She nodded. My maid of honor was already by the laptop at the reception table, plugged into the projector. The video played on the screen we had set up for the slideshow. Everyone watched in silence. 45 seconds. You could hear people gasp. A woman in the front row covered her mouth. One man stood up and said, "Turn that off." But it was too late. There was Derek, on screen, shirt open, being kissed by another woman. Saying it doesn't count. People turned to look at him. He looked frozen. Pale. Like someone had ripped the ground out from under him. He tried to speak. "Amanda, please, wait, but I was already walking." I turned, picked up the bottom of my dress, and walked straight back down the aisle. Alone. Nobody clapped. Nobody moved. They just stared. Some guests got up and left. Others sat there stunned. I heard Derek's mom calling my name. I didn't stop. I didn't cry. I felt like I was walking through fog. I made it back to the bridal suite. I slammed the door, locked it, and collapsed on the floor. And that's where I'll pause this. Because what happened after that, what Derek did, what the guests said, and how the rest of the night unfolded, was something I never saw coming. So, here's what happened next. After I locked myself in the bridal suite, I just sat there on the floor for a long time. My dress was bunched around me, makeup smudged, hands shaking. I could hear the guests outside, murmuring, footsteps, someone crying. It didn't even feel real. Then someone started banging on the door. "Amanda. Amanda, open the door. Please." It was Derek. He sounded panicked. I didn't answer. "Just let me explain. Please. I made a mistake." I got up slowly, walked over, and leaned against the door. I didn't open it. "You didn't make a mistake," I said. "You made a decision." He started crying. Real, loud crying. Not the quiet, ashamed kind, more like desperation. I don't even remember it. I was drunk. It was Jason's idea. I didn't even want to go to that place. I didn't sleep with her. I swear. It was just stupid. "Please, don't do this." I didn't say anything. I just slid down the door and sat there on the other side while he begged. Then I heard someone else. "Back off, Derek." It was my dad. "You embarrassed my daughter in front of 200 people. You don't get to stand here and beg now. Get out." Derek cursed under his breath. Something slammed, maybe his fist on the wall. But he walked away. I heard the heavy shuffle of his steps and then silence. My maid of honor came in through the side door a few minutes later. She hugged me. I finally cried. For the first time that day, I cried like someone pulled the plug on me. And then she said something I didn't expect. "You should see your phone." I checked it. I had over 30 missed calls, texts from people at the wedding, screenshots, even TikToks. Yes. Someone had posted the video already. People were commenting, sharing it. Saying I was brave. Calling Derek names I won't repeat. But that wasn't the twist. The twist came when I opened a message from a name I didn't recognize. A woman named Kara. She sent a DM that said, "Hi Amanda. I'm really sorry to message you like this right now. But I saw the video from your wedding. I think I need to tell you something. I've been seeing Derek for a few months. I had no idea he was engaged." My stomach dropped. I asked for proof. She sent screenshots. Text messages. Photos of them together at dinner, in bed, on his couch. Dates lined up. One of the weekends he told me he was visiting his mom in Houston, he was with her. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I wasn't even shocked. I was empty. Numb. He wasn't just a guy who made a mistake at his bachelor party. He was cheating on me the whole time. The whole time we were planning our wedding, he was sleeping with someone else. Lying to me every single day. That was the first twist. The second came later that night. Most guests had cleared out. Some stayed at the venue drinking, trying to figure out what to do. My family and friends helped pack up decorations and flowers. I was sitting in the bridal suite again, trying to peel off my dress, when there was another knock. It was one of Derek's groomsmen. Let's call him Matt. He looked nervous. Eyes darting around, like someone might be listening. "Can I talk to you for a second?" he asked. I didn't say anything. I just stared at him. "Look. I feel sick about what happened today. I didn't know Jason was gonna do what he did in Denver. I swear. But I need to tell you something else." That's when he told me Derek had cheated with someone in the bridal party. Months ago. I felt cold again. I said, "Who?" He looked me in the eyes and whispered her name. It was Sophie. One of my bridesmaids. A girl I had known since college. Someone who stood beside me during dress fittings. Who cried during my bridal shower speech. I didn't believe it. I didn't want to. But Matt sent me a screenshot. A text from Derek to Jason, months back. Still can't believe I hooked up with Sophie. Hope Amanda never finds out. I threw the phone across the room. It hit the mirror and cracked it. Not shattered, just a long diagonal line through the glass. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. I just sat down again, quieter than before. It wasn't just betrayal. It was layered. Personal. Deep. He lied to me. He cheated on me. He slept with someone I trusted. And he smiled at me through all of it. Bought me flowers. Took me ring shopping. Held my hand in front of my family like he was proud. I felt like I was drowning in dirty water. I stayed at a hotel that night. I didn't want to be anywhere near the venue. Sophie tried texting me. Please, it was a mistake. I blocked her. No response. No reply. She was dead to me. Derek tried calling again. I didn't answer. The last thing I heard that night, before I passed out from pure exhaustion, was a voicemail from him. Amanda, please don't leave me. Please. I can't lose you. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. But here's the truth. He lost me the moment he sat on that couch in Denver and laughed. He just didn't know it yet. And the fallout? It wasn't over. I wanted to throw my phone in a lake. Then came the email. It was from a woman named Marissa. She said she was a paralegal at a law firm in Houston and she had information I needed to see. My first thought was, scam. I almost deleted it. But something made me open it. The email said this: Hi Amanda. I'm reaching out because I recognize your fiancé from a meeting we had a few months ago. He came in to consult with one of our partners about prenup options, not for the wedding with you, but for a separate property agreement with another woman. Her name was listed on a preliminary draft as Kara. Kara. The same woman who messaged me on Instagram. The same woman who told me she didn't know I was engaged to him. My heart dropped. I asked for proof. She sent me a redacted screenshot. It showed Derek's full name, the law firm name, and a document labeled, Cohabitation and Property Rights Agreement Draft, Derek, last name, and Kara, last name redacted, dated 3 months before the wedding. So not only was he cheating, he was planning a life with another woman. While I was doing cake tastings and picking out centerpieces, he was trying to make sure Kara wouldn't take half his stuff. I sent the email to Kara. Her response? I had no idea. He told me you broke up months ago. He said the wedding was called off because you cheated on him. He told her I cheated on him. I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. But here's the part that twisted everything into something uglier than I thought possible. Derek moved money. From our joint wedding account. We had opened it together to pay vendors. Both our names were on it. It was at a local credit union in Austin. After the wedding blew up, I hadn't checked it, just assumed it was frozen. Nope. He withdrew $8,900 2 days after the wedding. Left it with $17.42. The money was supposed to go to the photographer, final payment for the caterer, and the cleanup crew. I found out when one of the vendors emailed me, Hey Amanda, just following up on your final payment. I left a voicemail for Derek but haven't heard back. I called the bank. Confirmed he took it out in person. I was furious. I called my lawyer uncle. He told me to file a civil claim for unauthorized withdrawal and breach of contract with the vendors. Which I did. I also called Derek and left him one message: you took the money. You're going to return it. I have the bank footage and the receipts. This isn't even about love anymore, it's legal now. He never responded. But Jason, his best man? He did. He had the audacity to message me on Facebook, you humiliated him in front of his family. You should be ashamed. A real woman would have handled this privately. A real woman? I took a screenshot and posted it with no caption. People tore him apart. Turns out he had made jokes at the wedding before mine, saying, bachelor parties are for last chances. That one got back to his own wife, who left him. Good. One down. Now here's where the last twist, so far, comes in. A week after the wedding disaster, I was getting ready to block all reminders of it from my life. Changed my number, got a new email, packed a few of Derek's old things he'd never picked up. Then I got a phone call from an unknown number. It was a reporter. Apparently the video had made it to a true crime YouTube channel. They thought it was some kind of hoax or social experiment. The reporter wanted to interview me for a podcast episode called The Wedding That Never Was. I said no. But then she said something I didn't expect. We found someone who claims they were also engaged to Derek. A woman named Isabel. She says they were together from 2021 to late 2022. Do you know her? I had never heard of her in my life. If her timeline is right, he was engaged to her just before me. Which means Derek might have been running this pattern with multiple women. Leading double lives. Fake relationships. Juggling engagements. But the emotional part? That was messy, eh? Sophie never stopped texting. Not long paragraphs. Just short things. Please. It wasn't serious. You don't understand. Then came a message that made my chest ache. He said you were cold. That you didn't care anymore. That one broke something in me. Because there was a time I had questioned if I was being too distant. If my long work hours made him feel neglected. I thought we were just having a rough season. But he used that to justify cheating on me with someone who was supposed to be my sister. And she let him. I didn't respond. Then came Sunday brunch. It was planned months ago, a post-wedding thank you gathering for the bridal party and close family. I had forgotten it was still on the calendar. My mom called and said, a few of us are still going. Maybe it'll help. Against my better judgment, I went. Big mistake, or maybe, a blessing. It was at this little cafe in South Austin. Outdoor patio, shaded by big trees, mimosas on every table. When I walked in, people stared. Whispers. Even here, I couldn't escape it. Then I saw Derek's mom. She stood up and walked over, tears already in her eyes. Amanda, I am so sorry. I didn't raise him to be like this. She hugged me. I didn't hug back right away. But eventually, I let her. She pulled back and said something I'll never forget, I knew about Kara. My whole body went cold. What? I knew, something. He came home last year and mentioned her. Said he was figuring things out. I thought he meant with you. I didn't ask questions. I should have. I should have warned you. I didn't yell. I didn't even speak. I just stared at her. She cried harder. I was trying to believe he was just confused. I thought it would pass. I didn't want to ruin anything. I'm sorry. Then came Matt, the groomsman who had exposed Sophie. He pulled me aside while people were still arriving. He looked anxious. Sweaty palms, shaky voice. Amanda, I need to get something off my chest. I braced myself. I didn't tell you about Sophie because I wanted to protect you. I told you, because I loved you. I blinked. What? I'd been in love with you since we met. I was gonna tell you a year ago, but you got engaged. And I couldn't. But when I saw what Derek did, I just couldn't watch him hurt you anymore. I stared at him like I was looking at a stranger. Every word felt like it was falling on broken glass. You knew he was cheating and you said nothing for months. Until you thought maybe you had a chance. He opened his mouth, but I cut him off. You don't get to play hero now. You let me plan a wedding with a liar. And you waited. For what? For me to break so you could be next? He tried to reach for my hand. I stepped back. Then, right on cue, Sophie walked in. Of course she did. Heads turned. A couple of my cousins muttered under their breath. My maid of honor stood up and said, you should leave. But Sophie walked straight to me. She looked thinner. Eyes red. Amanda. Please. Just hear me out. No, he told me you guys were fighting. That it was over. It only happened once. I felt sick about it. I laughed. Actually laughed. You stood next to me. Held my veil. Helped me pick a dress. And the whole time, you were sleeping with my fiancé. It didn't mean anything. That's what cheaters always say. But it meant enough for you to betray a 10-year friendship. She started crying. Crocodile tears. I didn't care. My dad stood up and said loudly, I think that's enough. You've done enough. Sophie ran out. Matt followed her. Derek's mom stayed seated, staring into her lap. No one ate much. The mimosas sat untouched. I left early. On my way out, Derek was standing near the parking lot. I hadn't seen him walk up. He looked worse than I expected, thin, dark circles under his eyes, like someone who hadn't slept in days. Amanda, he said, stepping toward me. Don't. Just let me say this. I was stupid. I was selfish. I thought I could juggle it all. I didn't want to lose you, but I didn't want to stop either. I know I ruined everything. But you need to know. I never stopped loving you. I looked at him for what felt like the last time. You don't love someone and cheat on them. You don't love someone and lie for years. You don't love someone and steal from them. He looked down. I'm sorry. I know. And then I walked away. That night, I turned off my phone. I sat in silence in my empty apartment, surrounded by boxed-up wedding decorations that would never be used. But I survived it. I filed a claim. I cut off contact with every single person who lied to me. I started therapy. I joined a boxing class. I traveled alone. I started journaling again. And maybe one day, I'll fall in love again. But I'll never fall asleep on red flags again. I don't know what Derek's doing now. I don't care. What I do know is this: I stood in front of 200 people, faced the worst truth of my life, and I didn't break. I walked away. Alone. Strong. Clear. And sometimes, that's the real wedding.